The MMA fortune teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller.
What's up, you guys? The teller checking in. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a deep look into the featherweight division, which it's one of the better divisions in my opinion. It's a solid division. We're taking a step down from the last division we took a look at, which was the lightweight division. I think the featherweight division has some relevancy right now because we have a big fight coming up, a big title fight coming up between Volkanovsky and Ortega. We're watching The Ultimate Fighter weekly. Hopefully you guys are catching my Ultimate Fighter episode recaps. Actually just filmed one over here a little bit ago, filming this late on a Thursday night. Enjoying myself with a little bit of tequila and whatnot, just to give you a heads up. But I'm really excited to take a look into this division. Again, we're going to talk about just some notable guys in the division, some guys that have the X factor, guys we want to keep an eye on, put a little asterisk next to their name. We want to talk about the best fighters in the division, the best strikers, the best wrestlers. We want to break down who's the best at all those different categories. Just talk about all this stuff. And I want you guys involved in the comments, please. If you guys disagree with me, don't be shy. Let me know how you feel, because I love dissecting the comments and just knowing what the overall crowd feels. I really do. Because especially you guys that are listening, because you guys are my type of people, my type of fight fans. So I want to know what you guys think about what's going on in this division. Now, of course, we got to kick things off with the champion, Alexander, the great Volkanovsky, a very, very well-rounded fighter, 22-1. You know, I would say without a doubt, he's the kingpin of the division. But of course, I know some of you guys would definitely disagree with me there. Max Holloway looked very, very good in that last fight when they threw down. A lot of people thought Max won that fight. The first one, I thought Volkanovsky looked a little bit better. Yeah, Max definitely did some things there to sharpen up his tools and whatnot. He looked good in that fight, and I could hear any of your guys' argument that he should have won that fight. I think it was a close fight. Volkanovsky was the champion, but we got to see these guys throw down in the future, probably, right? I think we should. But Volkanovsky, let's talk about him for a second. Besides just these close fights with Max Holloway, this is a guy that since he's bursted on the scene has really just been wreaking havoc, going in there just destroying guys. And if you guys remember, he came in as a big favorite against Kasuya. He was a big favorite against Mizuto Hirota. And then from there on, really, against Shane Young, all these guys, solid victories over guys like Jeremy Kennedy, fights over in PFL now. Chad Mendez, Jose Aldo, Max Holloway twice. Shane Young's not a bad fighter either, but not as big as name there. But he's a solid dude, and he has a big fight coming up with Brian Ortega, who we'll be talking about in a second. If he gets that victory there, it's really going to make his resume look good there. So then we go to a guy and Max Holloway. You talk about solid resumes. Max Holloway is just an absolute beast. Been around for so long doing this thing. We've been watching him since he's a kid. He may very well be the best featherweight in the world right now. So, but in the meantime, had a fight fall through with Yair Rodriguez. It's very disappointing. I wanted to see that fight take place. It's coming off a fight where he absolutely schooled Calvin Kattar, right? Destroyed him. And he was torching all types of records with the strikes. It was disgusting. One of the worst fights I've seen for a fighter, and Kattar, I mean, that fight took years off his life. Trust me, guys, that took years off his life and years off his fighting career. You can't take shots like that consistently. So it'll be interesting to see how Kattar bounces back over the next couple of years. But again, looked phenomenal against Volkanovsky. Holloway, I mean, who do you guys want to see Holloway fight next? I'm curious who you guys want to see Holloway fight next. Do you want to see him fight the Korean Zombie? Is that a fight you possibly want to see? Let me know. Comment below. We talked about Ortega here for a second. Ortega's a very talented jiu-jitsu guy. His boxing's been looking good. Looked very, very good in his last fight against the Korean Zombie, who's ranked number 4 now, right behind him. And you saw how good the Korean Zombie looked in his last fight. So, Ortega, definitely doing his thing. Like I said, he shaved the hair there, and he looked phenomenal against KZ, the Korean Zombie, KZB, I guess you want to call it. Looked great there. And, now his hair's growing in a little bit. He's all cocky in The Ultimate Fighter. But the way that his hands are coming around to go along with his jiu-jitsu game, he's right there at the top. So, I'm very, very excited for that fight there. Korean Zombie, we talked about how good he looked in that fight there against Dan Ige. A lot of you guys had him to win the fight. And, Ige is a guy that's really a tough outing. And the Korean Zombie went out there. He outclassed him. So I think maybe the Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway, unless it's something, I'm missing something right now. That would be a fight I would want to see. And then, and the next guy I want to talk about here, we'll get to him in a second, but we'll scroll through this. Josh Emmett, always a tough outing. Solid wrestler, team alpha male guy that has dynamite in his fists. No fights on schedule as of right now. That's another guy that's in the mix. Maybe we see him versus Cater when Cater bounces back. Yair Rodriguez, so told you that fight fell through with Max Holloway, so we'll have to see where he's going next. Dan Ige, too, we talked about his last outing. He needs to rest up. I think he just had a kid, chill out with the family. Edsim Barboza, ranked number 9 in the division right now. Edsim Barboza looked phenomenal against Shane Burgos. I think that he's looked phenomenal ever since dropping down in weight. I thought that he got robbed in one specific fight there against Dan Ige. So, just to talk about Barboza real quick, I think that he should be 3-0 since dropping down to featherweight and taking out guys like Shane Burgos, Makwan Amirkhani, Dan Ige. I thought he won that fight. So those are solid names in the division. It looks like the weight cut's not too bad for him. He's definitely deserving of a big fight. I would imagine seeing him versus Yair Rodriguez or even him versus Max Holloway. Oh, I'm excited for those fights there. So keep an eye on those. We got Arnold Almighty Allen. Tough dude's been growing up inside the UFC. Zabit, I know Zabit has contemplated retirement. I really hope that's not the case. I don't know what's going on with him. It seems like he's still training, or sometimes he's not, chilling at the mall. But I don't know what his situation is exactly right now. It's a little bit of a shame to me because one of the most talented dudes in the division, and needs to work on his cardio a little bit if he does make his return, because in 5-round fights against some of these top guys, maybe the weight cut's just a little bit too much for him. I don't know. He's kind of slender in there, man. Or I shouldn't say slender. Carries a lot of muscle, but he's ripped, man. He's toned up. I think maybe it wouldn't hurt him. Maybe the weight cut is what's getting to him. Who knows? Shane Burgos had that delayed knockout. He's got to recoup and get things going there. X Factor here. X Factor big time right here. Giga Chikazi is a guy that I really, really think can cause havoc in this division. And we talked about strikers, who's the best striker in the division, which we will get to in a little bit. Giga is right up there. See if he's my selection. Stay tuned to see if he's my selection. Super, super talented. Coming off a nasty, nasty knockout victory through that nasty body kick to Cub. Finished him off there. Took out Jamie Simmons, a guy that stepped in short notice. But Omar Morales, Erwin Rivera, Jamal Emmers, Brandon Davis needs to step up the level of competition. But this is a guy that was a kickboxer that's been rounding out his overall game. And it's a guy you want to keep an eye on. Sadiq Yusuf just had a decision loss. Very talented fighter that has dynamite in his fists. How about Bryce Mitchell? Bryce Mitchell, definitely a guy that we want to put a little asterisk next to. I think his grappling is nasty, and I think he can give a lot of guys trouble there. He's relentless. He's not like some guy that has this solid wrestling pedigree, coming into mixed martial arts, but he's a guy that just pushes the pace. You guys know what I'm talking about. When you have money on him, hopefully a lot of you guys did recently because he hasn't been losing, and he just pushes the pace. How about, what he did to Charles Rosa on the mat? Nobody does that. Pulling twisters, attempting twisters on him. You see that there. Or this actually was the twister that he got, which was against, pull it up real quick, a talented striker in Matt Sales. So pulled that twister off. Not a lot of people doing that. You see how he's attempting it on all these guys. Just grinded out Andre Feely to a victory. Andre Feely just looked amazing in his last fight. So that carries weight. It carries big time weight. So you keep an eye on Bryce Mitchell. I'm telling you guys, ranked number 15. I would love to see, imagine Bryce Mitchell against Giga or even Burgos, do a little stylistic matchup, striker versus grappler type thing. I love it. Now we got another guy. We're gonna go down one ranking spot to number 16, and we're gonna put an asterisk next to his name as well. Movsar Evloev, a guy that's just an absolute beast. Just came through for me again, with some money. I'm always on this guy. I've always been on him. Very well-rounded, very physically fit, good cardio. The wrestling is nasty. He's a solid fighter. It's going to need to sharpen up his striking game and his striking defense a little bit more. Some of the top strikers, I think, will eventually probably knock him out, to be quite honest. And I would say his stock even dropped a little bit as of recently, even though it's still high. I don't like the way that he finished that third round against Hakeem Dawodu. And also there were some other fights where he looked a little fishy towards the end of the fights or at certain moments. I think some of the top guys will tee off on him, to be honest. So he's going to have to sharpen his game up. Cub Swanson, a legend at 17, coming off that nasty TKO loss. Let's see if he recuperates. He's getting up there in age. Feely, although that was they don't have his last fight here, I pretty much feel comfortable. We could all agree that was a victory there. Took out Pineda. Now, how about this? I definitely want to talk about this. Patricio Pitbull will be taking on AJ Mckee. This is over in Bellator now, but these two guys are worth noting. These guys are UFC caliber type of fighters. AJ Mckee is a second generation fighter who is uber talented and is bringing all these different types of new stuff to the game. He's a new type of generation fighter. He grew up in the gym, like legitimately, not just like some of these guys that kind of did. This guy, his dad, Antonio Mckee. These guys are no jokes over there. I will definitely have a breakdown video out on that fight. And you guys know the deal with Patricio. Patricio is just an absolute beast. So what a fight right there, man. The more of a veteran versus the younger up and comer, and I cannot wait to see that. And I think that, to be quite honest, I would take Patricio all day over a lot of these guys. Straight up, I would take him over a lot of these guys. I mean, all the way up to the towards the top. I think he's a little bit disrespected at that spot there. But, you got to be in the UFC if you want to be up there. Hakeem Dawodu needs to work on the takedown defense. Ryan Hall, very excited to see Ryan Hall taking on Ilia Topuria at number 21. Ryan Hall is a guy that hasn't been fighting for a little bit now. It's been, 2 years, 2-year layoff. But this guy is a wizard. Nasty 50-50 heel hooks coming at you. And Ilia Topuria is a killer. So, big fight there. And at 22, right under him is Topuria. So, you know that the winner of this is going to be obviously the guy moving up, and the other guy's going to take a little bit of a step back possibly, or stay stagnant. But very, very high caliber fight there. And a fight that I'm very excited for. Mirsad Bektik, tough guy. Jeremy Stevens, a lot of losses as of recently, but has the name. Maybe there's something they could do with him soon. Look, AJ Mckee ranked at number 29. You guys know I would take him over a bunch of all these guys, actually. All these guys, not a bunch of guys, all these guys over here. And same thing with Mckee. He's going to have to get up to that top 9, 8, 7 up there before I really start saying, okay, these guys can really mess with him. That's crazy, right? I really do believe that. That's what it is, but he's in Bellator, so that's where they're going to put him here on the Tapology rankings. Sang-Woo Choi looked very good in his last fight. Got the early knockout. Keep an eye on him. Knocked out Julian Juicy J. Erosa. Any other guys worth noting? Groovy Lando at 38. Julio Arce hasn't fought since 2019. He needs to get back in there. He has a victory over Dan Ige. And they're actually doppelgangers. They look exactly the same. Check that out if you don't believe me. Kron Gracie needs to get back in there. It's been a while. I was there 2019 for that fight. He lost. He dropped the ball. I'm sure he's sharpening up his entire game. He'll be back. Some of the best grappling in the division. Stay tuned to see who I think is the best grappler. And haven't seen the Korean Superboy in a while. Jared Gordon has a big fight coming up with Joe Selecki. And yeah, man, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Comella Kirk had a big victory in his last fight. Herbert Burns, of course, the brother of Gilbert at 49. Omar Morales there at 48. So the division is stacked. The division is definitely stacked. And now we're going to go over to the part where I'm going to say who the best striker in the division is. And you guys know I'm going with Max Holloway. Going with Max Holloway. And that's a big pick there because there's a lot of nasty strikers in the division. Guys like Yair Rodriguez. Who else? Let's get some runner-ups going here for the striking. Calvin Kattar, a nasty, nasty boxer. Volkanovsky, I know you don't really think of him like that, but of course he's a nasty striker as well. Edsim Barboza, Yair Rodriguez, those are the runner-ups right there for me. Barboza is the runner-up there. So, but Max Holloway, what he just did to Kattar, what he's been doing for so long now, his striking, his MMA boxing is so nasty. I got Max Holloway there. The best wrestler, the guy that implements his wrestling game in the cage, the best, in my opinion, is Volkanovsky. Getting takedowns over Max Holloway in some of those fights, or at points, and the two fights there. And not a lot of people can say they got takedowns against Max Holloway. Although one man could, Conor McGregor, which is kind of funny if you think about it, right? Not a guy that's really known for his grappling as much. But hopefully he comes through. You guys know I'm a diehard McGregor fan. I don't know, man. I think this is Dustin's fight, though. We'll see. But Volkanovsky, back to Volkanovsky. Volkanovsky, a former rugby player, a guy that really has sharpened up his wrestling, and I think that he implements his grappling or his wrestling and clinch, to takedowns and stuffing takedowns better than anybody. He's a beast. He's a beast of a man. He used to walk around over 200 pounds, and he has beautiful inside trips, and I like his wrestling. As far as BJJ goes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the best Jiu-Jitsu player, on the mat there in the UFC or in the featherweight division, excuse me. I got two guys I want to kind of do 1A, 1B. I think that Kron Gracie is obviously right there. I think Kron Gracie, his jiu-jitsu game, you go down to the mat with him, you saw what Kron was able to do over Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy, took him out like it was nothing. And what else has he done recently? Let me pull up Kron here real quick. Just talked about him, excuse me. What Kron was coming in at number 42. And 5-1. All of his professional victories have come by way of submission. Not a lot there, but did submit Tatsuya Kawajiri, Japanese legend. So yeah, more to prove in there. So that's why I'm going to also say, I don't know if I can necessarily just pick him. Got to also go with Ortega. I think that Ortega is a guy that has some of the nastiest jiu-jitsu, and has probably shown more in the cage, right? So I got to probably say Ortega actually would be A. Kron Gracie can maybe step down to B or number 2, but definitely worth noting. Those guys are the guys right there. Kron Gracie and Ortega. And as far as overall grappler goes, I'm going to stick with those two guys too. Not just their jiu-jitsu, but their overall grappling game. I'm going to take Ortega. I'm going to say Ortega. So you guys comment below. Let me know if you guys agree with me there. Curious your guys' thoughts on the best at those things. I was quite surprised. I was looking for that serious wrestler in the division, the guy that was the Division 1 wrestler and all that. And there really wasn't a lot of guys that stood out in that aspect. The big wrestlers in the division. It's kind of funny. If you analyze the featherweight division, it seems a little different than your average divisions. Look at these guys. Volkanovsky, ex-rugby player. Max Holloway, just a kickboxer. Ortega, a jiu-jitsu guy. The Korean Zombie, a striker. Overall martial artist. But Calvin Kattar, a boxer. Josh Emmett, a strong wrestler. He had a nice collegiate wrestling career. Then you got guys like Dan Ige, just a solid jiu-jitsu guy. Yair Rodriguez, Barboza, striker. Arnold Allen, UK boxer, striker. Zabit, has the Dagestani thing, but look at this. Giga Sodiq. I mean, this is a division filled with strikers. So we're going to have a lot of entertaining fights coming up in this division. Even Bryce Mitchell. I'll put him up there with the grappling as well. He's right at the top. And look, this isn't a guy that had a significant wrestling background, I don't believe. Nothing special. And he does implement his game. So I'll put him right there with those guys too. One of the best grapplers. And Movsar Evlovoy, a guy that definitely is at the top right there. And as far as straight wrestling goes too, I wanted to actually put Movsar as a runner-up as well with Volkanovsky. So he's right there too. But again, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Please comment below. Hope this video has been a little entertaining to you and has shed some light into the featherweight division here. I'm going to be getting out more and more divisions to you guys. I think some of you guys said you wanted the bantamweight division. Is that correct? Please comment below, refresh my memory there. If you want the bantamweight division, that will be next, unless you guys want a different division. We're going to hit up all these divisions, and I think that they will be resourceful as the events take place. You know, just keeping track what's going on in the division when we see these fights going down. So I hope you guys enjoy these, and they're informative for you guys. All right. You guys can check out my UFC 264 recap video. It's up. You can check out my Joe Schilling, that whole thing. I analyzed that whole situation, the Joe Schilling bar assault fight video, and you can expect a lot more content like that, just random stuff coming out that's MMA related. All right, so I hope you guys do like this stuff. Yeah, that's about it. You guys hit that like button on your way out, please. Signing out, the Teller. The MMA fortune teller.
The Teller. The Teller. The Teller. The Teller. The Teller.